GLES 7-1 Eagles. Welcome back in, everybody. Rob Ellis, Derek Dunn, hanging out with you. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, Gunner, so a couple things. Eagles put up a 38 spot yesterday. Jalen Hurts goes 29 of 38, 319 yards, 4 touchdowns, did not have an interception. You know, he got the fumble on that tush push that didn't work or whatever. I don't know how much I can beat him up on it, but it is another turnover that goes on his ledger, and he's got 11 for the season. Yeah. It was good that he didn't throw an interception yesterday. That's something he's got to get better at. But a 135.7 passer rating, and he was completing passes at a 76% clip yesterday. I just thought, I know it helps when you have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith reemerge yesterday, and we'll talk about him and all that, but he was really on point yesterday, I thought, with his throws.
Made the big throws when he had to. I thought the offensive line did a great job giving him time to throw. Even when Washington would blitz, he still had time to survey the situation and get downfield. He wasn't under constant pressure. And when he had time to step into his throws, man, he was delivering money, straight money. I thought he did a great job of distributing the ball for as well as for as phenomenal as AJ was in that game. He hit 8 different receivers on passes.
Yeah.
You know? So he spread the wealth when he had to. He took advantage of where the opportunities were. You can't ask him to do any more than that. And again, you know, all the little things that he said about we'll see. And what did he say after yesterday's game? I'm here. I'm still here.
I'm here. It has a knee. I'm here.
So, you know, he's not telling you, but he's letting you know indirectly that, hey, look, I'm navigating through this thing. I don't know when it's going to be 100% better. I don't know if it's going to be 100% better, but I'm still out there navigating this thing. And, hey, he's putting up the numbers. He's putting up the numbers. That's all you can ask.
All right, so John Ganoot, who does a really good job with stats for the Eagles. You know John. I know John. He's the senior manager of football communications. John, excellent work. And puts out really interesting stats in my estimation. So if you look at the way the year's gone thus far, total yards in the NFL, Jalen Hurts is third. He's behind only Mahomes and Tua. Yep. He's got 2,420 yards. By comparison, Mahomes has 2,492. Tua's got 2,442. I mean, he's right there nipping at both of their heels, okay? Total touchdowns. He's second, only behind Josh Allen. Josh Allen has 22. Jalen has 19. Tua has 18. And I know we look at this year like he's taken kind of, in some people's eyes, taken a step backwards. He's not quite at the level that he was. And the turnovers certainly play a part. And his inability / choice not to run, he's not quite as effective with his running. But he's still producing in a massive way. And I think that's the thing that maybe some are overlooking here is the production you're getting out of this guy.
Take what you can get when you can get it. Considering, and here's another thing, Rob, considering how starting quarterbacks fell by the wayside yesterday, this man's still upright and breathing. Yep. That's all you can ask. You know, can you imagine what could happen if we have to hear the words now entering the game, Marcus Mariota?
No, thank you.
This man is playing through pain, discomfort, with a leg brace on, and he's still getting the job done. That's all we can ask. Hold your breath every time he steps back to pass or takes off running, because if you notice, there were a couple of times when he ran towards the sideline.
Yep.
You know, when you see people run towards the sideline, they'll put the brakes on so they don't run into somebody in the sidelines, into a bench, water cooler. With Jalen, you saw him slow down and come to a stop. Mm-hmm. That tells you that thing is bothering him.
Yeah.
You know, even with that brace on, there's discomfort in there. And I don't care how well the Eagles hide this thing. I don't care if they keep trying to hide it every week. It's obvious that he is struggling physically, yep, as well as battling the opposition, and he's winning in both cases.
Yeah, he's tough. He's never going to make excuses. That's why I appreciate he's not lying to you. Like he's kind of not answering it, but he would have told you I feel fine if he was, and he doesn't feel fine, but he's doing what he has to do to get through it. And you know, look, the hope is you can get him through the Cowboys game without it getting worse or whatever, or further aggravating it. And you get a bye week to let the knee sort of heal up. And the hope is it gets better as time goes on. Like an example might be Joe Burrow. I know it was a calf, not a knee, but he played through it.
Yep.
It looks like it's, he's on the right side of it now.
Coming out of it now. Yep.
Look like himself again. Hopefully that's the case with Jalen, that he can do this. But I mean, all the more credit to him that he's got to kind of change his game. We know how effective he can be with his legs. That is really an option right now. And he's still passing the ball really, really well.
As long as that offensive line plays the way they played yesterday, he'll be all right. The fact that he can do that, if they do that, that means he doesn't have to run and scramble as much. He's got to be a pocket presence now, and he's so far so good.
Yeah.
He's had a few mistakes from the pocket. Okay, every quarterback does. There's not a quarterback that doesn't. Mm-hmm. The best of the best has that. But because of limitations, he's going to have to function now in that pocket more so than floating, and we've seen this for the past 4 or 5 weeks. And the further we go along, the easier it's becoming to hone in
right
just how much the limitations are affecting him in terms of his overall ability to escape, to scramble, to float outside. But I'm telling you what, if that offensive line remains the Rock of Gibraltar the way it was, he's going to be just fine. With AJ on one side, Devontae, Dallas Goedert, Swift. Hey, the only thing I wish the Eagles would get rid of in their passing arsenal is a doggone hitch pass, that bubble pass. They are terrible at the hitch pass, bubble pass. I mean, stop.
Mike Quick, Gunner, I'm sure you didn't hear the radio call, but on the radio yesterday, Mike Quick even said, they insist on keep on running that thing, and it never really works. I don't quite get it. Now, Mike's never going to take them apart, obviously, on the broadcast, but when he's saying something like that, he don't want to see that anymore. Like, move on. You get plenty of other things that you can do. Get rid of that. I agree with you. Get rid of that. So there's the Jalen component. Now, the production that he's getting at the receiver. I want to before we get to AJ again. It was good to see Devontae Smith get back.
Yeah.
I would say he had a very good game, not out of this world, but 7 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. The one he was wide open.
Yep.
It was almost like being wide open on a jump shot. You're just like, you had to think too much when you're waiting there to catch that one with him and Jalen. But anyway, he got back yesterday, and that to me is huge. He's never going to be a guy who complains. Devontae's built a little bit different than most receivers, where I don't think there's this huge diva thing with him, but he wants to get his. So it was good to get him back in the flow yesterday, because I thought he had some really good catches too, Devontae.
There has to be a level of frustration with him that he is now clearly the second fiddle to AJ Brown, but he still understands it's not about me. Every receiver wants the ball. Every great receiver, every potential great receiver, every good receiver wants the ball. That's why I think the Eagles do such an outstanding job of reminding people it's not. Look at what we have at our disposal here. Each week it could be somebody different. Dallas Goedert had a couple of games. Devontae. I think this team realizes when it's time to go to the air, AJ Brown is the primary option, hands down, and rightfully so. And everybody else will just have to suck it up and do your part to make this thing work. And they have up to this point. It's so much easier for teams, for individuals to accept their roles on teams when you're winning. Now, if this team was 1-7 instead of 7-1, and AJ Brown was putting up these numbers, and Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith were the guys on the outside looking in, I don't think they would give you.
I agree.
Headline material. But I think the frustrations will be a little bit more evident in their body language. But because of where they are right now, sitting on top of the NFL world record-wise right now, everything is harmonious with this team right now, as it should be.
Yeah.
And I think Nick Sirianni and his veteran leadership does an incredible job of constantly reminding these guys, there is no me in this locker room. It's about we.
I agree with you. I think that I think the good thing I like is there's an understanding that it's all about the W, and that takes precedence sometimes over individual numbers. But you're right. I mean, look, it was a good game for Devontae. I thought Goddard had some effective plays on the day. Wasn't a huge one, but it was effective. Real quick, Pro Fan Talk, our buddy Marcus, Coach Marcus. Disagree, D-Gun. It's only a problem with players if the man next to you is not as good as you. Not the case. And that's that's fair. I mean, I think everybody recognizes.
And I'll counter with this. Yeah. I've covered this game too long. I've had inside information. I'm not saying I disagree with Coach Marcus, but I'm saying I've seen it happen too many times when there are players that have equal caliber. And if one is left out, the other one will start grumbling. It's the nature of the game. It's the nature of the beast. I've been there firsthand. I've covered this game coast to coast for too many years. I've seen it too many times. There are a lot of players that will put themselves above the rest, even when their teams are winning. You don't see that here. You don't see it. There's a culture established here that I think is phenomenal compared to a lot of things that I've covered and I've seen. I've seen players in winning environments that can be disruptive because their snap counts are down. They don't get as many carries in the backfield. They don't get as many looks from the receiving game. Seen it too many times.
I hear you.
I stand by what I said. We can debate that all day.
That's fair. That's fair. Look, it's fair. I think it's a fair counter to that for sure. I did like getting Julio Jones involved. And it was a heck of a catch. He got smoked on that. And the really interesting thing, I thought, I don't know if you got a chance to hear Nick afterwards, but Nick said, we installed that on Friday, but Jalen and Julio worked on it a ton on their own. He said, with the first time we did it, we didn't really get it right. It didn't, didn't work, whatever. But we kept going at it, and I felt comfortable using it in the game because of that. And I'll tell you what, he took a shot, Julio did, after he caught that ball.
Heck yes.
It was a nice catch, really nice catch.
And when they threw the flag, they looked at the replay. I'm like, man, that wasn't a unnecessary roughness shot, because when you look at it again, he led with his shoulder.
Yes.
And then of course the ref picked up the flag because at that point,
I didn't think it was a dirty. I thought it was just a football play.
Well, initially they throw the flag, they were about to call. Then you look at the replay, and of course, then the refs pick up the flag, and that was why the Eagles decided to go for the extra point instead of going for two.
Right.
Because you could see them lining up, getting ready to go for two.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the ref pulls it. There's no call. Boom. Take the extra point.
Yep. Agreed. That was nice. And again, back to AJ, 8 catches, $130, 16.3 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. He's just skewering, the other thing is, like, you've seen guys in terms of like the best receivers in the game. Devontae Adams is kind of trapped in that mess in Vegas. Tyreek Hill's still doing his thing. Don't get me wrong. I would exclude him from this, but other guys, Justin Jefferson being hurt, there are other guys that have taken a step back, Derek. If you wanted to go to the mat and say it's Tyreek Hill is the number 1 receiver in football, I'm not arguing that with you. But if you tell me anybody other than A.J. Brown is number 2, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think A.J. Brown is right there in the 1-2 conversation of the best in the game right now.
Oh, are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Right. I'm saying there are still some people that don't know. It's look at the catches Puka Nacua has. Look at Stephon Diggs. AJ Brown's number 2 right now. And AJ Brown, to me, is in a top 3-4 MVP conversation.
Absolutely. Puka is a phenomenal young receiver. He's not making these difficult catches that AJ Brown is making. Okay. Right. You go back to the previous game. He makes a touchdown catch, 2 guys draped over him. That catch he made yesterday on the sideline for a touchdown. The way he went up one-handed and pulled that thing down. AJ is not the fastest receiver in the league, but he is one of the most difficult because of his body size, body mass, and his hands. His hand strength is second to none of any receiver in the game today. I mean, you look at how big his hands are, and he makes the football. It's like almost palming like a tennis ball.
It's incredible. That catch. I mean, that one-handed catch was sick. He's contorting his body. He's got to tap his feet. He's got a guy all over him. I mean, it was just. I still can't believe he caught that ball.
I can't either. And get both feet down.
Yeah.
Not just catch the ball, but get both feet down.
Incredible.
His body control is out of this world.
Yeah.
He frustrates DBs because there's no DB. Maybe a Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
Jalen didn't play when the Rams played. In terms of just matching up size for size and physicality, most DBs are smaller than him. You look at the cornerbacks for Washington. You're going to put Emmanuel Forbes on him? Are you kidding me?
Please. That's men against boys right there. Yep.
That's like me and you trying to defend Barrett Brooks. It doesn't happen. It ain't happening.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's and if you noticed, he's not getting a lot of snaps for them.
No. Well, he was demoted. He lost the starting job a couple of weeks ago. He was demoted. But again, he's a rookie. He'll get better.
Yeah, you got to learn. You're going to go through growing pains. It's just the way it is. That's life. All right, so the two turnovers are completely unacceptable. One of them is a Gainwell fumble. Can't happen. The other one is just a porous sort of exchange.
Yep.
And timing was just off on a play that they almost always have perfect timing on. Yeah, that one. I mean, just stuff happens sometimes. It happens.
It could happen on a cold day. Anybody knows who played the game knows when your hands are cold, the ball feels different. Okay. Yeah. On a wet day could happen. Those fluke things are going to happen at 32 teams in the National Football League. Yeah. It just happens. Unfortunately, it also affects the Eagles' overall red zone efficiency. Right. The last two games, they were much better in red zone. This time, it resorted back to what it was, but still, you know what? It's a part of the game.
I agree.
We expect.
Yeah, like they generally have to clean up turnovers. That one on Sunday is I don't expect that to be a problem going forward. And again, as we talked about, Kenneth Gainwell's not giving you productivity if he's fumbling the football. It's a bad look. It's a bad look on a lot of levels. But let's talk about the running game in general, Derek. It's not been up to satisfaction. They haven't rushed for 100 yards in 3 straight games. That's the first time that's happened since 2016. Yesterday they were under 3 yards per carry on the ground. I think there's a combination of things happening here. I do think they missed Juergens a little bit in the run game. A little bit. I'm not, laying it all on that, but I think there's a little bit of that. I think Swift is maybe getting a little bit tired. It's more of a workload than he's accustomed to. They've committed more to the pass than they have the run for sure in games lately. But nonetheless, it hasn't been good enough, and you don't want to become one-dimensional, and they're a little one-dimensional right now.
Well, when you play a team like the Eagles, you go in trying to take away something. In the last 3 games, teams have made more of a concerted effort to take away their run game from them. But this Eagles team, even when you make them one-dimensional, they're still virtually unstoppable. Going into this game, we talked about how it was imperative for them to establish a more balanced attack. But when they fell behind 7-3 and 14-3, it takes you out of that. You got to play catch up. So what happens? You got to go to the air, which in this case played to the Eagles' strength because Washington's back end is a very porous back end, in their defense, and the Eagles exploited that. So you decided as Washington and Jack Del Rio to take away their run game.
Right.
Okay. And it cost you because you couldn't stop them in the other aspect of their game, which was the air attack. Mm-hmm. So in this case, Washington succeeded in one area and failed in a bigger area.
Yeah.
Now you're going to play some defenses. You're going to have some teams you're coming up against that are going to try to take away both elements of your game. It could be hit or miss. That's why I'm so looking forward to seeing this team match up against Dallas's defense, which is going to force the issue in terms of making you make decisions sooner. Kansas City's defense is a much better defense than it was a year ago, and that's across the board. Yep. Kansas City last year was a defense that relied on its front 7. Now, the young guys who played last year, the rookies who played last year, are playing much better on the back end in terms of the pass defense. Seattle's defense is going to present a problem. The 49ers' vaunted defense has had leaks in it the last 3 weeks in terms of pass defense. So I'm interested in seeing how they go about trying to fix that. Steve Wilkes is getting a lot of heat for the way his defense is playing right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's something that's missing. That defense is still a good defense, but it's a defense leaking right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see as you continue to navigate these rough waters, how you overcome some of these other obstacles you're going to face coming up. And let's face it, they got by Miami.
Yep.
They got by Washington. Now you got Dallas, San Francisco, Seattle, all coming up back to back to back to back.
You're going to have to play better than get by, right? I mean, the get by can get you by Washington. Get by can get you by some other teams. It's not going to, you're not going to get by unless you clean some of this up against, the heavy hitters that you have coming up.
Exactly.
And definitely it starts this week. I mean, Dallas, and we'll get into Dallas in a minute, but yeah, Dallas certainly presents a lot of problems. There's no question about that. So that's something to look at here. And again, with the trade deadline tomorrow, I know there's a lot of talk. I see folks in the chat discussing this as well. Would they take a run at Derrick Henry? I don't see the Henry thing happening, Derek. I don't know if Tennessee is going to deal with the Eagles anymore because the last two times didn't. We'll see.
If I was Tennessee's front office, I would not answer a Howie Roseman call.
No, that goes right to voicemail. That bad boy. Yep.
Goes right to voicemail. Or I would have a secretary say, our general manager is in a meeting right now. Well, when is he going to be free? Try us again in about 6 months.
Yeah, 2035. I think he's going to be available at that point. Yeah. But no, I think that's definitely a piece of it. But I also are you going to bring it? You're going to give. I don't think you have to give a ton of capital up, but are you going to give up what you have to give up to get Derrick Henry in here to run it 6-7 times? I don't know. I just don't see that one. I think it's on a lesser scale than a Derrick Henry. Here's the other thing.
They don't want to pay. They're not going to pay the running back that kind of money. Derrick Henry is one of the highest paid running backs in the game. They're not going to pay that kind of money.
That's the other part. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And one other thing I'll throw in there. Does Tennessee, even though they're 3-4, even though they haven't been very good for a lot of this year, are they? Maybe the Byard thing was a bit of a signal, but are they really ready to totally wave the white flag when they still have life for a wild card? I don't know.
Well, I will tell you this: if I was Tennessee, I would hold on to whatever pieces I have, because yesterday, if that was a sample of what's to come, Will Levis has shown that he is the future of Tennessee. That kid came out of nowhere and threw 4 touchdown passes. He looked like a pro and got DeAndre Hopkins more involved in the game than DeAndre has been all season long.
Yes, I agree with you. It's the best he's looked. Yeah, it was just different. They just looked different. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. They were a completely different offense yesterday. And yeah, you're right. And that's something I think you want to monitor if you're them going forward. Like, all right, maybe this is the finally move on from the Tannehill thing where you were just, in mediocrity, with him. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's what's coming up. Yeah.
If I'm the Tennessee Brain Trust, here's the way I look at it. Right now, your team is sitting at 3-4. You are the number 11 seed right now, which makes you on the outside looking in. 7 teams this year get into the playoffs. Here's what Tennessee is looking at ahead of them. Houston is 3-4. Houston, we don't expect Houston to be a juggernaut. This is a learning curve for you. Now, Cincinnati is going to move up their pecking order. The Jets are on a roll right now, but Jets, they're only 4-3. Mm-hmm. Cleveland's 4-3 and struggling. Pittsburgh's 4-3 and struggling. All of a sudden, if they change things, Buffalo's 5-3 and struggling. There's nothing that says Tennessee can't get on a roll. If you're going to bank on this kid Levis, and if he plays the way he played yesterday, you got a good chance of slipping in the back door, considering how these teams are stacking up and knocking each other off in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't give up any more capital. You A.J. Brown you got rid of. Now Byard you got rid of. And yet you still have the component. If this young kid is the real deal, and it's only a 1-game sample, right, but the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is now more of a viable entity, that's a green light for me right there. Hey, let's keep moving forward with what we have and see where it goes.
Yep. Makes sense. All right, let's come back. All right, AJ was never this good on the Titans. Howie saved him. Sure. I don't know that Howie saved him, but he's got a far superior.
Yeah, he freed him.
He's got a far superior quarterback. Far superior. He was still doing great things. You just didn't notice it as much because they were just sort of treading water. But no, I mean, AJ's a great talent, but it helps when you have Jalen Hurts throwing you the football too. One hand, washes the other. Yeah. All right, let's come back and do some defense, D-Gun, because there are some things to be concerned about defensively, certainly when you're talking about the defensive backfield. So we'll get into that and a bunch of other things Eagle-wise. And then we'll dip into what happened around the NFC East, around the league, all the injuries. We'll update you with all those kind of things. Some great stuff to dive into, which we'll do when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Sports Take. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances, it's everything. You don't work as hard as you work to not try to set yourself up, right? And not invest the right way and waste your time or lose your good hard-earned money. I can tell you from personal experience that I trust Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group. You should too. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you might have a small business and you need help with your employee benefits. That's another resource that Jim can help you with. I've entrusted my IRA and my 401k rollers with Jim, and it was the best thing that I ever did financially. Give him a call right now, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751. You can also email him with any questions that you have or a consultation. It's Murray, Murray.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.